I'm Michelle Courtney Berry. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Alternatives. I wanted to thank you all for being here. This is the second of 3 open houses that we're doing to introduce particularly members of our team, but also particularly James Hunter, our new Chief Lending Officer. So I want to thank you for being here again. You'll see some of our C-suite and staff are here. They're going to tell us what they do here and say a few words of welcome to James. But I'm going to turn the program over first to our amazing CEO, Eric Levine.
Hi, I'd like to thank everybody for their attendance as well. And at Alternatives, we're just thrilled to welcome James Hunter as our Chief Lending Officer. I am proud to say that I was a member of the search team, which brought James aboard, and we couldn't be happier to have somebody with James's stellar background, mission-driven experience, and his great leadership skills to complement our C-suite. James was pretty much exactly what we were looking for, someone with extensive, diverse lending experience who knows how to safely and fairly deploy credit to people who have been marginalized and left behind by the mainstream financial industry, credit to people who may fall victim to predatory lending otherwise. And James knows very well that challenged credit does not need to be an obstacle to getting a loan. And so with that, we know our best days are ahead of us with James at the helm of our lending. There are other members of our C-suite and staff here as well, and I will introduce them one by one. Well, they can introduce themselves. I'll call on them and they can tell you what they're going to do and what they do at Alternatives. And I'll start out with Karl Graham.
Thank you, Eric. Hi, Jamila. Hi, Sue. Hi, Gladys. Good to see you. It's been a while. I won't say my name because you know who I am, but I do have the privilege of directing our financial education and asset building programs. And so far, and of course we know going into the future, we've worked closely with James and are excited to welcome him here. He brings a breadth of experience, which he'll tell you about. And he's going to be a great addition to our community.
Thanks, Karl. Next, I would like to introduce, well, again, introduce yourself, please, Kevin Mietlicki.
Hello, welcome to our guest today. Again, I'm Kevin Mietlicki. I'm the CFO here at Alternatives. I've been here about 4 years now. And yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting James about 18 months ago at a community development educators school that we took together in Madison, Wisconsin, training through Credit Union Foundation. And it's there that I learned of James' commitment to credit union principles and the things that we do. And I just got to say, I'm happy to have him, that he brought his passion for community development through lending here to Alternatives and the Ithaca community. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Next, I would like to have Chris Cain introduce herself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Cain. I'm the Chief Experience Officer here at Alternatives, and that means I head up development, so help raising money to help implement our community programs and our other some of our other programs here. I want to say, James, I'm so excited that you're here. Being able to add your experience and expertise and being able to help us create more innovative and creative lending products to get more dollars into the hands of the people that need it the most. People helping people is what we do, and I know that that is a part of who you are, and we're delighted to have you here.
Thanks, Chris. And Reiley Shane, please introduce yourself.
Hi all, I'm Reiley Shane. I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at Alternatives Federal Credit Union. Welcome to all of our guests, Jamila, Sue, Gladys. It's nice to see you here, and it's always good to see my coworkers, some who I haven't seen in a while. So thanks all for being here. It's my pleasure to have James come on board here at Alternatives. I was also part of the hiring team and was very excited when James had applied. I have been working in operations in the credit union industry now for over 18 years, 15 of them being here at Alternatives. One of the things I've always been wanted to take more of an opportunity and is to kind of build a one-stop shop for our members, and that includes incorporating more lending in with our membership as people are coming in to talk with tellers or open up new accounts. And I'm very excited to work with James on building more opportunities for lending to our members as they're coming in and hearing about innovative ideas that he's got, and just looking at revamping, promoting, and showing our community what we have to offer here at Alternatives. So welcome, James. I'm looking forward to working with you more, and it's good to see all of you today.
Thanks, Reiley. And B. Nellenback, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to our guests. And my name's B. Nellenback, and I work in the lending department, underwriting mortgages and assisting members in navigating through the home buying process and doing my best to be a trusted guidepost in what's really a big moment in a member's financial life. I'm also lucky to be Alternatives Lending Outreach Coordinator, which, as you may imagine, involves reaching out to members and potential members, to our staff directly, to community partners, and the express intention is to connect people with the right programs, products, and services to really serve them. So that regardless of where they are in their life or on the credit path, we have something to offer that will provide access to the next step on their financial journey. So I'm thrilled to welcome James Hunter to Alternatives and to have the chance to work with him and the rest of our team towards our mission of building wealth and creating economic opportunity for underserved people and communities, so that together we can impact and amplify positive change in our shared community. Welcome, James. I'm really happy you're here.
Thank you, B. And with that, I will turn it back to Michelle Courtney Berry, who we are delighted at Alternatives to have as our very talented Chief Marketing Officer.
Thanks so much, Eric. I'm really thrilled to be here. I want to also introduce my counterpart, who I couldn't do any of this without, Grace, who is one of our managers in marketing, handles all of our digital communications among a million other tasks. So I also have some questions that folks sent to me in advance. We have a small group today. So I also wanted to open up the floor before I introduce James. If any of the members from the community wanted to say hi, or if you don't want to speak, that's fine. But you know that the floor will be open as well for your questions, and you can also put any questions you want to in the chat box. So if anybody who joins us right now wants to say hello, they can. Some of us know you, some of us don't. You can remain anonymous and have James get to know you one-to-one at another time. So it's up to you right now if you want to say hello, if you just want to wait till questions. Sue? Just wants to wave. Hi, Sue. So Sue just wants to wave. Might talk later. Hi, Sue. Good to see you. So we have some questions that folks sent to us who couldn't be with us in spirit. There's a couple of people who can't log on right now. So what I'm going to do is introduce James. I'm going to help them log on, because then James is going to take the floor. So we're all really thrilled that James is here. He's become like everybody's new best friend. He is that warm and engaging and just has been an incredible member of the team. It always feels like he was here with us. So I will tell you a little bit about his background. This is just a condensed version. He's a very modest person, so I'll try to get through this quickly. But just when I'm reading, I can let you know there's pages that follow about this dynamic individual. So James Hunter was most recently the Executive Director of Lending and Mortgage Director of Real Estate Lending at New Orleans Fireman's Federal Credit Union in Metairie, Louisiana, a $182 million asset credit union. Before this uplifting work, James worked at Hope Federal Credit Union, a $350 million asset community development credit union based out of Jackson, Mississippi. As the Senior Vice President of Mortgage, he provided steadfast leadership and creative vision for the mortgage division and Hope's overall strategic initiatives. During his tenure, mortgage lending increased by 117%, generating more than $50 million in loans across the Deep South, one of the most impoverished regions of the nation. James was recently among 39 credit union professionals in the nation selected as a credit union rockstar. The Credit Union Rockstars program, managed by the Credit Union National Association, or CUNA, recognizes outstanding credit union professionals and volunteers from a wide range of disciplines who use their unique strengths to advance the mission of their credit unions. Another CUNA Rockstar winner is Kevin, our CFO, so we have 2 rock stars in the nation on our team. James earned his undergraduate degree in communication and marketing from Western Illinois University and is currently pursuing an MBA degree. Besides his numerous volunteer projects and commitments, he is incredibly proud of his work for Habitat for Humanity and Salvation Army's Angel Tree program. James also serves on the Executive Board of Directors of Inclusive, where he is the chairperson of the Mortgage Committee. I'm going to ask James to say a few words, and then we'll open with some questions that were sent ahead, and then we'll open the floor to all of you. Thanks, James.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks to everyone for their kind words. It really is a great pleasure to work with a team of like-minded servant leaders. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so pleased to be part of this great community, and I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy day to attend this event. I also want to take a little moment to tell you a little bit about the why behind what I do. I want to provide you with some insight on my background, along with my vision, philosophy, and strategy on lending. My journey to alternatives is a direct result of many people throughout my life who gave of themselves unconditionally, unlocked doors, provided me valuable resources, and allowed me to dare to dream. I think it's important to further understand my why. You need to know a little bit more about my narrative. I grew up in the housing projects in the south side of Chicago, a section of the city known for its gangs, crime, sub-living conditions, and persistent poverty. Nevertheless, determined to provide me with a quality education, my mother, on a crossing guard salary, paid for me to attend a private school. In order to pay for school uniforms and other ancillary activities, she volunteered her time and ran a Sunday school program. Every year, the program would sponsor a family for the holidays. One year, they selected my family. As tears rolled down my mother's face, she stated that she did not want to be a handout. I can still to this day hear the words of the woman who turned to my mother and stated, "Helen Hunter, it is not a handout, it's a hand up." I watched my mom struggle to make sacrifices in order to provide for me and my family, but I also witnessed something else. I saw the powers of the cooperative approach. The community itself was a viable resource that could be leveraged to impact change. These lessons that I learned were very invaluable and still serve as my moral compass today. My vision is very simple: bridging the financial wealth divide by creating policies, products, and services that empower members to take control of their financial future. I believe that it is through policy where real systematic change can be harvested. My philosophy on lending is get it, keep it, grow it. Get it just simply stands for maximizing our talents and understanding our niche and reaching out to people and meeting them where they are in their financial journey. Keep it is about building rapport with our members from day one and ensure that they are satisfied with their products and services and don't have any questions about where they're going. And when growing it, I think it's a way to deepen the relationship by planting the seeds for future products and services that allow cross-sell opportunities. We can achieve and maintain this type of philosophy by making sure we have a strong plan. My strategy involves a 4P approach: people, product, processes, and production. People. As a financial institution, do we have the right people on the right seat on the bus? If so, how can we better leverage their talents and skills to empower them to do more? I think that it's in people where you find the most impact, because people, without people, you can't really do the job. And that's the biggest investment that we can make. Product. Are our policies and products that we have aligned fully with our mission? One thing I know about policy is that policy reflects a period of time that you're trying to embrace or nurture. And sometimes policies change according to the times. And as you all know, in the times that we're in, we're faced with millions of people going to the unemployment line every week, a pandemic that's not only affecting the livelihoods of the healthy, but the unhealthy as well. And also just in a period of change in our government affairs. So with that, our policies need to reflect these times. Process. Have we identified our best practices that would allow us to maximize our resources and streamline our products? I think that once you have the right policies, you can then get the right products to go along with them. And I think the last P is a result of all this hard work, which is production. I think that once you align yourself with the right people, you have the right process and product and the right process, you can then begin helping people beyond your mass control, because there's something that people salivate for and we can provide it for them. I really do believe in the good work of alternatives. That's what led me here. And I want to truly build upon that mission. As B mentioned earlier, our mission is very simple: to build wealth and create opportunities for underserved people and communities. That speaks volumes. People helping people. It is just that simple. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I'm sorry for any technical difficulty folks may have had. I want to let you know this session is recorded, so we'll make sure that you get a copy of it and you can see the beginning of the session. We'll cut out the part where we play music in the beginning and I'll start dancing, and we'll go right to the introductions. So thank you all. I'm really honored because some of my very best friends in this community are in this call. So I wanted to just thank you for all your support in always welcoming me and making sure that I felt held in this community. So also, thank you to James. So before we open the floor to questions from our community guests and anyone, I guess, on staff who might still feel they have questions for James, this is a question that came in the mail to us from attendees who couldn't be here. So one of the first questions that came in, James, is how do you like the snow? Last week we didn't have any. This week we have some today. Even though your last job was in New Orleans, though, you're a Chicago person, correct? So is it fair to say you know snow, but do you like snow?
You are correct in that assumption. I do know snow being from Chicago, but I do also like snow. I think it's a very significant transition from season to season, and in that you embrace what it entails. Snow just makes you want to, enjoy the most simple things, where it be sitting down, having a nice bowl of soup, or just being able to say, you know what, I'm going to go outside and build a snow angel. Those are things that I like.
Cool. These are two identical questions that came in from two different people. So it's a popular one. Are there any new loan products or processes that you hope to bring to alternatives?
Absolutely. And I think that I'm a man of mantras, and I believe in understanding, one, how we're going to find ourselves to find these products is a process. And the process begins with making sure our policies are aligned with what we're trying to achieve by driving our mission. And then from that, I think that the community itself is a resource to ask, what heartburns are out there that people need that we can help solve? One of the biggest things that comes to mind is home ownership. That is one of my hot spots. I think that we have a group of people out here that are paying rent. It could be a mortgage payment. And one way to look at that bridge is to offer a loan product that may help with down payment and work with closers to help closing costs become less burdensome. And I think that one is going to involve working with realtors to help them understand what our tolerance is for concessions on sales, but also creating a product that would allow for people to have maybe up to 100% loan to value, to where they could bridge that gap, step into a home with little to no money down. But we want to make sure that, as Eric said, that we're prudent about our decisions, that these people that we're trying to help are ready for homeownership. And I think that there are a pocket of people that are. And we want to start doing things like that. That's going to be exciting, because one of the things I know about building wealth is that the best way to do that is through homeownership. It's something that's yours. It's something you take pride in. It's something that builds equity. It's something that you take care of. It's something that makes you feel proud about being a person chasing the American dream.
Thanks, James. And one final question before we open the floor that was sent in. What are the similarities and differences between your last credit union and this one?
Very good question. Both credit unions are very similar with the mission to serve the underserved. And One thing I admire about alternatives is that the intention behind that is evident, because they invest a lot of money in making sure that we have certified financial counselors. When you look at other credit unions across the board, you don't see that many individuals who obtain a designation. To have that is a badge of honor that gives alternatives a right to say we understand and we're subject matter experts in helping people resolve financial situations. So that is one of the most proudest things that I could boast about being part of alternatives, is that our commitment to our internal team helps us fulfill our promise to our external members.
Great. Thank you, James. So I'd like to open the floor now for any questions. So you can just ask, or you can use the formal raise your hand, or you can just unmute yourself and start talking. It's Ithaca, so I just expect you to unmute yourself and just start talking. Chris?
I just like to follow up on what James said. And Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but over 40% of our staff have that certification, right?
Yes. Last year, or was it early this year? I think it was early this year, we certified 22 new financial counselors for basic financial counseling. And this definitely steps up the type of service that we're able to give to the community.
Cool. Jamila?
Hi, James. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'll bypass the pedigree. That's always not my favorite part of things, but I'm a community member here and a member of the credit union for the last 5 years, and also a local homeowner. I've spent quite a bit of time with B and some other folks here. And I'm wondering, I guess the obvious question is, how do we partner with you? I'm a homeowner now, but I'm also very passionate about home ownership, and especially for families who are currently renting, right? There isn't really a bridge gap program for them to be able to move into home ownership. I was lucky earlier this year to get some funding from Cornell and from the city of Ithaca to provide a duplex project in the village of Groton, where we have hydroelectric power and some other features that we can offer to families as they make their transition to home ownership, right? So my plan, at least for 2021, and I know how God smiles on our plans, is that I can help 2 families enter home ownership, right, by making it plain, helping them with their day-to-day aspects, and providing efficient, right, energy efficient home within the village, and then helping them to find a home within the village of Groton so they can continue to take advantage of hydroelectric power and some efficiency offers that are here. How do we partner with the credit union and with you particularly, James, in order to be able to advance projects like this where we're standing in the gap for other local families?
Well, first of all, thank you for being a member, and thank you for being an advocate for people who don't have a voice. I think the first step in making this partnership is what you just have done, is extend the olive branch. I accept that, and I would love to talk to you about different ways in which we can be creative in trying to bridge that gap. Again, I think that it takes a village to raise not only kids, but a family, but also individuals up. As I mentioned in my conversation earlier, my mother received a hand up, and I want to be able to provide that hand up to others who are trying to live that opportunity that sometimes seems like it's unattainable. And I think that what we can do is start planting seeds that are going to help yield people who want to be in homes that opportunity. So I would love to make sure that we get in contact and start strategizing, because it starts with that right there.
Thank you. I'm passing on my contact information to Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
James, I'm making your email available to everyone now.
Please and thank you.
Sure, no problem. Anybody else?
I've got a question or a comment. First of all, I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm Larry Honigbaum. I'm the CTO, Chief Technology Officer at Alternatives. I don't have a lot of member-facing responsibilities, but I keep the hamster wheels running behind the scenes. So to help my fellow staff deliver the service to you fine people. Thanks for being here. Also happy to welcome James to the crew, and I look forward to lending whatever skill I can to helping him achieve his goals and plans for the organization and the community. So obviously, you know, the times we find ourselves in now, how do you see us filling the gap right now for people, you know, that the government is not filling, right? You've got people, you know, I've seen that other countries are providing payroll support, you know, subsidization 100%, 90%, and we're doing zip, right? So we can hope that that changes, but if it doesn't, in addition to the CAF loan, what else can we do?
It's a very good question. And I'll say that what we are doing is right now our CAF loans, which for everyone is a community program in which we give funds out at a 0% interest rate to allow people during COVID to bridge the financial gap that they're experiencing. But again, that's more of a short-term approach. I think it all goes back, Larry, to what I mentioned earlier, which is the policies that we have need to reflect the times that we're in. And a great example of that would be looking at loan products that we offer and say, for example, look at the current levels of debt to income ratio. For example, if a current debt to income ratio is at 40 to 45%, considering the fact that we're in a COVID environment and people are running to the unemployment line in droves, trying to get themselves back acclimated to working, or whatever the situation may be, we may want to put that guideline to absorb more of the debt, because as we look at people's priorities, and let's say they want to buy a vehicle, that's the primary resource to getting to a job. And I think that with the unemployment the way it is, people are going to have to go further out to maybe seek the job that they're desiring. But in order to get to that, they have to have a reliable car. To have a reliable car, you need to have someone who gives you a loan for it. But just because my credit is struck, I now may have some issues. We have loan products that are designed for that. But also, my money may be allocated to certain things that are of importance to me, which kind of makes my debt to income high. So I think that if we look at our policies and creatively look at ways to select that spot that allows people to be served, I think that we will find ourselves being able to then make products as an offspring of that come organically, that will help bridge what people are experiencing. Good question, though.
Anybody else?
And I'll also just share really quickly, just to add on to Larry's question and James's point. I also serve as a member of the Black Lives Matter Ithaca chapter. Every month we open up an opportunity to give families $250 strings free. And, you know, there's no other program like that in this community. We see people that come and they pick up the funds and they're literally crying because they're beyond their last, right? They have more money than month. And if there's a way that we can partner on projects like that as well, we obviously house our accounts with alternatives, and we want to continue to do that. We're continuing to do our fundraising. But, you know, there's some really incredible ways in which we can stand in the gap for families, and especially during this time. I think this is going to be a really incredibly hard winter for a number of families. And there are things that we could be doing right now to help to do that. I know that a lot of people think of that as like, that's the situation that Department of Social Services should be in, but that's what we have neighbors for.
Jamila, I think you are eloquently speaking something that is of great importance to me. You know, when it comes down to what we're experiencing, there's the divide, which was already there, but it's even more apparent. I'm going to call it very simply what it is. We have the haves, and now we have the have-nots, because I think that we look at a middle class that is probably going to be non-existent for a period of time, because they've expended most of their financial resources to try to combat COVID, and each person's situation is different. But I go back to the lessons that I've learned about the community approach. The cooperative spirit is something that is very, very unbiased and is colorblind. It doesn't see people for anything except for being a human. And working with like-minded people across the board to find different ways to layer funds and come up with different ways to surround them with what they need is exactly what's going to help the end result, which is to help people feel a little bit more proud about what they're doing and trying to achieve, but also come out the woodwork and say help. Because if you don't ask for help, you can't get it. And I think we have to make it aware, very, very apparent to people that we're here. I hate using these now because Michelle gives me such a grief about them because I'm the mantra person, but James Baldwin made a very valid statement when he made this quote that anyone who's ever experienced poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. And I know that feeling, and I don't want, if I can help people to experience that, and I think you feel the same way. And I guarantee that there's other people who have the same resources that want to find a connection that we can provide, that when you put people of like mind together, what we can do is beyond measure.
Thanks, James. Another question that was sent was asking you what the transition has been like in terms of particularly coming here during COVID. I think you touched on some of that, but how have you found the welcome from the community, and what do you think about our community?
I am just elated with the community. I've had the opportunity to go out and take walks. Thank you very much, Michelle. To see the community at large, meet people on the street, stay socially distant at the same time, but experience the backdrop that Ithaca and the surrounding Tompkins communities offer. And I must say that from a cultural standpoint, it's rich. From a being cordial and inviting, I've seen nothing but pleasantries around that. And I just look forward to building on that, because that's the foundation for magic to happen. This is such a close-knit community in which if we take that and use it to our advantage and leverage it, we can find a way to provide the support that we need to be independent. And then we can, of course, solicit from outside resources and government fundings as ways to layer and piggyback on that. But I really think that the answer to a lot of our concerns is right here. And I'm so happy to be part of the thought tank that's going to help provoke some of these relationships and be intentional about what we're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Some of that divide that you mentioned previously, other people have commented, and I just got a question in which someone had texted me who couldn't attend today. I was really interested in kind of the ways that we sit in our community, which is knowing that we have a lot of divides in our city and increasingly difficult for people to be able to afford to live in Ithaca. There's increasing commentary about, you know, gentrification on historic South Side and other areas around the community. And so kind of asking, like, what role can alternatives play in not solving every problem, but illuminating at least the discussion or creating more conversations in the community around us holding roundtables about discussing the very heart of what our mission is. So I guess I'm more asking, I think this question could go to any of us on the executive team, but certainly, you know, throwing it to lending, because I think that's kind of the hot spot or the lightning rod of where people, you know, the touchstone of where people will go to have those conversations about, you know, increasing wealth. Because if our mission is related to increasing wealth for those in poverty, what's the lending role look like? And we know you're new to the community and to us, but just knowing that we have those conversations that go on a lot about haves and have not in Ithaca, and about institutional and structural isms that happen here like any other place in the country, if in the world.
Well, I would love to entertain that question. I'm very new to the community, but I think the concern is something that is unfortunately an issue that plagues us. I think that as alternatives, we need to make a stand for what we believe in. And I think we need to be the beacon of light for people and make an advocacy for what we're trying to achieve. I think that involves a lot of partnerships and community involvement to where we can give a very sound answer to our area of, we're not trying to deal with this, we're trying to solve it. And I think that if we can facilitate these conversations and of course let them know what alternatives is going to do about this with our products and services, and making sure people understand our credit union difference and how we're going to use that to help facilitate these changes, that people will then maybe have an aha moment and realize that we can be a conduit for change, and we can be used as the source to bring about change in a very powerful way. The one thing that I love about alternatives and credit unions in general is that we understand how to work with limited resources and get maximum output. And I think that we can use that talent pool that we have, along with community involvement, to start having these intentional conversations that will then hopefully burn into an area of involvement from not only the state, but local, but federal level. Believe it or not, it can happen. And I think that this is a great place to try and start.
Kevin, thank you.
I'd just like to say something on that, and how alternatives gets into the community and learns from the community, whether it's serving with the United Way or the YMCA of Tompkins County or Rotary or Tompkins County Area Development. The members of our management team and many of our employees are out there and participating in groups like this, from our MEAs and tellers up to our senior staff. And why we're there is to listen to the concerns that our community has and to bring them back here. Because we don't try to sit in an office and decide what our community needs. We want our community members to tell us. And I think, Jamila, that like you saw here, could you turn and make a phone call to the Chief Lending Officer of Tompkins Trust, or in a minute, where we want to be available as often as we can to our community members to have those discussions. We've had discussions and people reaching out to us from not only the Ithaca area, but we have projects going on in Watkins Glen and hopefully in Elmira with housing there. So it's just ingrained in what we do. Karl kind of keeps track of everything that our staff volunteers in and where we are in the communities and that. And I think that's how Alternatives learns of what we can do. I think that's why the city and the county turned to us when they came up with the Small Business Resiliency Fund at the beginning of the pandemic, and knowing that we're who they thought of when they needed somewhere to turn to get relief to businesses in the area. So I hope we're building that reputation in the community for listening and trying to respond to those needs.
I guess my last question before I scoot off to my 1 o'clock. So I'm passionate about working in community to help build capacity, but I'm also passionate about working with young people. Are there any new products that we can, work on with teens and in our community in order to get them prepared to move into this trajectory of thriving?
The answer to your question is yes. I think that when we look at the future of where we stand, it's about trying to prevent the same things that have happened to occur again. And I think that it's important that we teach kids the foundations of financial literacy and how to be better citizens and give them life skills that are going to help them. But I think at Alternatives, we have a very comprehensive program that can help cater to those individuals and give them that one-on-one time that they need via Zoom or other alternative ways, no pun intended, to meet them where they are and say, hey, this is something that we want to try to start to help you get to where you need to be so you can be that much more ahead. I go back to my days of college, and I remember looking at someone who offered a Discover card and a t-shirt, and I said, sure, I'll take it. Well, how am I going to take this and pay for it? These important conversations need to be had because they're not being done extremely well in the classroom. So we need to make a platform for people to have that so they can start realizing, what does credit look like? How does credit empower you? How can it help your buying power? How can it change your trajectory? So yeah, again, I am so excited to work with you.
And Jamila, I will reach out to you and contact you with Joe Cummins, who's our community educator. And Joe and Brendan Wilbur also have worked a lot with young people for many, many years. And so we're ready to go. So I'll reach out to you and we can set something up for the young people you're working with.
Awesome. Yeah, I oftentimes, prior to the pandemic, would come in with young people that I work with through the youth advocate program. So they tend to be very vulnerable young people, but that's a part of my programming, is to make sure that they get that financial counseling, that one-on-one, so that they can make really smart decisions, whether they're working a part-time job or wanting to have a career later on. We start that process pretty early. So thank you.
Right. And thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to scoot off, but James, welcome again, and we'll be in touch very shortly.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful afternoon.
We have until 1:15 for any remaining comments or questions that you might have. And I'll check to see if I have any more notes that came through. James, is there a question about prioritizing? Do you have any advice for, particularly since we're doing something, and I'll send this out to all the people who registered for both open houses, a reminder that we're having another open house. Thanks, Karen. We appreciate you. And we're having an open house on December 11th. And in that one, we're going to have a series of folks on our team talk about just ways to have the stress-free holiday. And Allison, we're all just meeting now with you. So you now have pretty much the most of the senior team of alternatives. So you could and you're a long-term member. So I wanted to thank you. Allison's also my best friend, and I'm just really thankful for you being a member for a long time and the great programs that you've led, particularly your national work that you've localized here when you rescued greyhounds. It's extremely beneficial. And also, I think you're an EMT, or I think that you're an EMT, a cellist. This is an Ithaca, typical Ithacan, an EMT, a cellist, an accountant, and I think you have 2 businesses. So, and you also work in real estate. And like, that just seems like a lot, but like the normal Ithacan, like I bet almost everybody here plays, okay, who here plays a musical instrument or sings? Like, who does that? How many people play an instrument or sing? Okay. How many people have acted? Well, everybody's hand, because, you know, we work, we're acting, you know, right now, like chipper for the holidays, even in the midst of snow and COVID. Like, no, we're not acting. We're all real. So, but almost everybody's required to have multiple jobs in Ithaca. So one of the questions that came through, and maybe this will be helpful to Allison, is for busy people at the holiday season, and we're doing this special open house about managing holiday stress by looking at your finances, and there'll be 4 folks talking. So James will be back, Kevin will be back. We'll add in Kim Ritter, who'll talk about financial counseling during this time and always, and Kathleen Clark, who is our Director of Business Development, is going to talk about the value of buying local. So Allison, we hope you'll come back the 11th. We'll invite you again. But one of the things that came in through, and it's probably our last question, is how do you, when you already have a lot of tasks and a lot of demands as a new person, James, what advice would you give on prioritizing? Because you can't do everything at the same time, but sometimes things can feel so incredibly urgent. Do you have any tips for any of us about prioritizing?
Yeah, I think
you have with that, because you're also in college right now too.
Yeah, I'm a non-traditional student trying to balance my life. I also am a family man. I also work for an outstanding credit union. But when you ask me the question about how do you balance, you have to sit down and take the time to think about what's important to you, your values. And for me, my values fall into my faith, then my family, and then my job. And I try to look at things that surround that and find myself asking, how can I better serve these tasks? So when it comes down to family, I always make sure that, for example, my family is en route to being here every night at 9 o'clock. I'm talking to my daughter FaceTime because we read a bedtime story. That is important to me. And I make sure that that's clear, no one else interrupts that, and it's a given. I also am very used to prioritizing my day on a computer with Outlook. I set task reminders to fill in my day, and I try to make sure I maximize the time and not overcommit. And I think that one of the biggest things that I can do is by making sure I'm available for those appointments, see what else is out there, and give that time to other ancillary things that may help. So in short, it's all about sitting down and asking yourself what's important to you. From that, making a skeleton schedule of what you're going to do to fill that time. I'm also a very important component of making smart goals. For example, I'm a frugal person. I know that for the holiday season, if I'm going to spend some money, I have X amount of dollars to spend. I don't overcommit to that. I make sure that it's very clear and evident of what I'm going to do. So for every aspect of your life you have to ask yourself, what is your tolerance level? What am I willing to commit to it? And how am I going to hold myself to it? And by making those SMART goals, you can help facilitate that, and also organizing your day or your schedule or your week or month to help fulfill that. And trust me, we all fall short sometimes. But if you have something to hold you accountable to a standard, most of the times you're going to achieve what you want.
Do you have anything else for us, Allison?
Oh, no, I just wanted to thank everyone, and I'm very impressed, and I've learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to the open house. Thank you for including me.
Thanks for being here. Great.
Thank you, Allison.
So, Allison,
My pleasure. Great.
I'm going to sign you out, or you can sign out. I'm just going to use the rest of the time to make sure folks are ready for December 11th, if that's okay with you, if you have nothing else.
Oh, sure. I'll go ahead and sign out. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Pleasure,
Allison.
Allison. Look forward to working with you.